I want to read you a quote here. In light of the extensive information gathered from this year-long in-depth study, the commission members unanimously recommend that the current moratorium on the death penalty be extended until significant reforms have been accomplished. A commission made up of 11 members has recommended that Oklahoma's death penalty remain on hold until major changes can be made. We are joined now by one of those members of the commission, Robert Alexander. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Pleasure's mine.
We certainly appreciate it. Oklahoma's death penalty process for more than a year has been on hold. Did you form this commission, or was it formed? We know it was by former Oklahoma Governor Brad Henry. Was it formed because of the two botched Oklahoma executions? Is that why this started in the first place?
It was inspired by that.
Okay.
Governor Henry was contacted by members of an organization called the Constitution Project, which funds independent research by state leaders on topics pertaining to the Constitution.
Why did you decide to join?
Well, I was contacted by the commission and asked whether I would consider it. And the death penalty is something that affects us all more than we know. Not whether you would be ever consider yourself or a loved one impacted by a capital situation, but the death penalty affects society. And the fairness of the administration of the laws, of course, affects us all.
This is a lengthy report. This is it right here. And I'll tell you, I've read a little bit of it. I read a little bit of it online. It's almost 300 pages. You guys were working on this for more than a year. What was the most shocking thing? Obviously, we don't have time to read all 300 pages. So tell us maybe what was the most shocking thing that you learned while you were performing this in-depth study for more than a year?
Well, two things. I'll say this about that lengthy report. The commission was extremely diverse in membership.
Right, bipartisan.
And so for 11 people from vastly different backgrounds to agree unanimously on the recommendations that are made in that report says a lot about the report. What was amazing to me was that a lot of the presumptions that we have about the fairness of the system are not true.
Okay.
We think that everyone's doing their job. We think that everyone's getting a fair trial. It's not because of problems with the system. The two that the greatest in my mind were reliance on eyewitness identification and reliance on science. People watch some of the TV shows and they think that science is ironclad. It's not. In fact, we're going to trials with the prosecution having science, and sometimes flawed science, and the defendant not even having science. It's like one side playing football, one side has pads and the other doesn't, and the loser is executed. And then on eyewitness identification, you would think that when someone says, oh, that's the person who murdered me or tried to kill me, I'll never forget that face, you think that they would know. They don't know. They're traumatized at the time. Sometimes they've been identified through faulty lineups where the policeman shows them a position, a picture, and says, is this the person? And then they assume that the policeman wouldn't present it unless it was the person, and they say, well, yes. Or they pick the picture in the lineup that's closest to the one that they recognize, okay. and then in future they're fixated on that face because now that's the face that they remember as opposed to the face of the individual who actually committed the crime.
So your biggest concern here are people who are innocent getting the death penalty, is what you're saying, convicted by science or false identification.
That's correct.
And like you said, this was
and that would have a corrupting effect on the citizens and on the country, because none of us would want to knowingly see someone put to death who was innocent.
Sure, absolutely.
And we became concerned that no one can know, but that is likely, to my satisfaction, likely has happened in the 110-year history of the state.
Like you said, a bipartisan committee made up of 11 members, and you unanimously came to this decision that the executions need to be on hold until, you said, 46 changes are made. But Oklahoma's Attorney General says he, quote, respectfully disagrees with your finding. Hunter said he believes that Oklahoma voters sent a clear message in November when they approved with 60% of the vote a state question to enshrine the death penalty in our Constitution. I want to read you this quote from him. He said, I believe in democracy, and the people in the state spoke very clearly with respect to the death penalty. Do you feel like you and the other commission members are going against the will of the people of Oklahoma with this?
No, we believe in democracy also. We believe that information is a good thing. And no one in the democracy has had the benefit, the advantage of studying these issues intensely for almost a year and a half. And so if they knew what we came to know, we believe that that their opinions would be further informed. Whether you agree that there should be a death penalty or not, we believe that everyone believes that no innocent person should be condemned to death.
What about the families of the victims, though, who are just kind of waiting in limbo for justice? Some of these crimes are so heinous. We're talking about burying people alive. One of the botched executions, one of the death row inmates was convicted of that. What about the families who are waiting for justice, waiting to see these criminals put to death? Do you feel like they're not getting justice now?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because one of the commission members was in exactly that position. Her cousin was murdered, and they went to trial hoping and waiting finally for justice. They had a tremendous amount of hatred, she said, toward that person who was charged. And then that person was charged and convicted, and then 20 years later, before they were executed, they found out conclusively that they were innocent, that they did not do it. Not that it was a legal technicality, they did not do the things they were charged with doing. And at that point, the men were broken. When they were released from prison, they lived only a few years. They actually became friends with this commissioner and her family. And they felt guilt because of the hatred that they had felt toward that person. And then the law enforcement found the people, another suspects, and charged them, and they went to trial, and so they had to relive that again. And so they found that, she said that her family found that it was not the satisfaction of seeing someone executed or charged that they thought they would, because even in the pain of their loss, which could never be replaced, they didn't want to see an innocent person condemned and broken as these two innocent defendants were.
Really interesting.